Welcome back, rulers, to the Yearbook, the series that looks at rulers of the past and where they are today. We're going to have some fun today and do something different with our ruler this time. Today's ruler of choice is a ruler that is remembered mostly for being included in one of the best secondary products in Force of Will history, Vingolf 3. Now, this ruler hasn't topped the GP ever, but it's memorable for the concept behind its creation and the set that remains so famous to the Force of Will community. Today, we're going to be talking about the Guardian of the Light Magic Stones. Let's begin.
Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out, as well as FowlLibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at FowlLibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer member Vite Ramen. Thank you for your support. Class is in session.
The Guardian of Light Magic Stones is one of 5 special edition rulers that came out with the release of the Vingolf 3 Ruler All-Stars Collector set in early 2017. Vingolf 3 celebrated the previous 3 years of Force of Will, its rulers, its characters, and its story. Each character and ruler from the last 3 years of the game was given a resonator with effects that also came with new artwork. And some of these cards changed the way certain decks played for the better, while others were reprints of older cards that were now in full art with the chance of being a holographic full art card as well. It was truly a celebration of Force of Will as we knew it way back at the time of Lapis Cluster. The rulers of the set themselves were offered as an introduction to the resonance mechanic, which stated that anytime a magic stone of a particular attribute entered your field, it would trigger this automatic ability of your rulers. The Guardian of Light Magic Stones in particular offered a buff of 200 attack and defense to your resonators with its own resonance trigger. When you performed Judgment, the Guardian became the avatar of Light Magic Stones, with 1200 attack and defense that destroyed your opponent's resonators upon entry while also maintaining its resonance effect on its J-Ruler side. This is by no means the most powerful effect in the game of Force of Will, by a long shot, but it did stand out amongst the other dragons we received in the set, with maybe the exception of Guardian of Wind Magic Stones, which is probably the best ruler of the set in and of itself. Despite the lack of competitive success of these rulers during a metagame dominated by Priscia and Fox for the most part, and then of course Faerur Ledelisle and early Rhea Cluster, we here at Ruler School see a lot of value in these Avatar J-Rulers as a way to help people get into the game and learn its mechanics. Their design might even be very simple, but that's what helps them to be accessible beginning rulers for your locals tournaments. So go figure, this teaching assistant loves rulers that teach people the game. So here's a couple of sample decklist ideas that you can use to start off a new member to your community. Beginner decks can be relatively simple in terms of their gameplay, and honestly they should be. Including cards that are easier to get your head around is a pretty good starting point. For an initial deck, keep your win condition easier to manage by honing in on something like Dragonoid Commander Siegfried. This resonator recovers all dragons you control, including your dragon ruler or J-Ruler. Plus, it's a relatively cheap 1300 attack and defense resonator due to its continuous ability to buff itself if there's a dragon on your field. Cards like Miscalculation are easy sources of removal for your new player to grasp as well, as it subtly teaches them that the destruction effects in the game are key to any deck that focuses on attack and defense like light decks tend to do. Light decks in general have adopted more effects that grant barrier as well, so cards like Protection of the Angels are good ways to protect their resonators, while also pushing them to think about how to use quick cast cards on their opponent's turn, and then leave some stones recovered during their turn in order to use these cards. Last, performing Judgment is probably one of the best feeling actions in the game of Force of Will. Since Avatar of Light Magic Stones has a very gratifying effect that occurs when it flips, we want our newer player to be able to do this easily enough. Acolyte of the Sun is a great way to produce more will for the Avatar's larger Judgment cost, as well as another card from Vingolf 3, Soul, the Envoy of Light, which ramps you a Light Magic Stone from the top of your stone deck. So at the end of the day, you have a deck that looks a little something like this one. Now, if you want to give them a direction to take their beginner's deck, maybe nudge them in the direction of adding a newer card like Guardian Dragon of the Kingdom, which is also a dragon that works with Siegfried, but can replace Soul Envoy of Light entirely since its effect is generally better, as it gives you a stone regardless of its name. Or perhaps giving your new player Command of Life and Death, one of this teaching assistant's favorite darkness cards in the game, will allow them to bring back a majority of their deck as well. Flute, Captive Dragonoid Child, is also a great upgrade to Acolyte of the Sun, since it has Barrier and functions as a way to wipe your opponent's board without the need to flip your ruler. Of course, this ruler is only ever meant to function as a beginning ruler before players jump into the deeper end of Force of Will, where more complicated rulers and effects will put all of their knowledge to the test. This deck will ensure that Locals is fun, challenging, and points new players in a direction for their deck building. A 2.0 deck is down in the description below, depending on your Locals needs for newer players. Personally, Avatar of the Light Magic Stones is an elegant ruler in its simplicity, even if it can't survive in the Wanderer format as it exists right now. But the ruler always felt easy to use and interesting to build around. Let me know what your builds for this ruler would be down in the comment section down below. Maybe you've played this ruler at a GP in the past because you were that new player to the game at that time. Maybe you have an uber rare version of this card, which is kind of a collector's item at this point. So you gotta tell us, how did you enjoy our first season of the Yearbook series? We've received a lot of requests for your favorite rulers of the past and are taking some of these suggestions into Season 2. We hope you enjoy this series so far and continue to watch it into the future. As always, go ahead and put your favorite ruler down in the comment section down below. There's a lot of rulers out there to explore in the newly revamped Wanderer format, so let us know your favorite and we'll add it to the list. But until next season, rulers, class is dismissed.